But first, the truth is, I am overweight. You could call me fat, and yes, even obese on a doctor's chart. But to the person who wrote me that letter, do you think I don't know that? That your cruel words are pointing out something that I don't see? You don't know me. You are not a friend of mine. You are not a part of my family, and you have admitted that you don't watch this show. So you know nothing about me but what you see on the outside. And I am much more than a number on a scale.
This week, Emmy Award-winning local anchor in Wisconsin, Jennifer Livingston, took to the airwaves to respond back to an email from a viewer who criticized her weight. It just shows you that bullies come in all ages, shapes, and sizes. October is National Anti-Bullying Month, and as parents like Tori and I know all too well, it starts too early. 160,000 kids miss school every day because they're afraid of being attacked or intimidated, and 1 in 5 teens are bullied in school. But here's a stat that you don't hear that often. More than half of bullying behavior stops in less than 10 seconds when another student intervenes. That's why our next guest has written a guide for parents offering specific advice on how to help kids deal with bullies. Carrie Goldman is the author of Bullied, What Every Parent, Teacher, and Kid Needs to Know About Ending the Cycle of Fear. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So we just saw the clip of Jennifer, and her courage is incredibly inspiring. But the email that she received, does that actually constitute bullying?
That's a really great question that you ask. And a lot of people don't really know what is the difference between bullying and just a taunt or a tease. Basically, bullying is a repetitive, unwanted, negative attack that occurs in the context of a power imbalance. So if you break it down, you might say, okay, she received one email, and that may not fall in the category of bullying. But if you look at the mindset behind the email, it's the mindset of a bully. Because bullying takes place when one person feels a sense of entitlement and feels basically entitled to make a judgment about somebody else based solely on skin color or a stereotype or appearance. And so although this was one email he sent, he made this email in the context of a bullying mindset.
So, Carrie, some kids who are bullied at school, they'll come home and they'll tell their parents. Others will keep quiet about it. Are there warning signs for parents whose kids maybe aren't speaking out to them?
Oh, there definitely are. Bullying in schools often takes place in the unmonitored places. So a lot happens in the bathrooms or at recess or at lunch. If you have a child who comes home and is desperate to use the bathroom every single time they come home, they may have been afraid to go into the bathrooms all day. If you have a child who comes home and is unusually starving, they may have been afraid to go and eat in the lunchroom. With the older kids, with the girls I interviewed for Bullied, every single one that I spoke to told me that they had turned to cutting as a way of managing their pain. And a lot of them said they hid the cutting from their parents by wearing long sleeve shirts and pants even when the weather was fair. So if your daughter or son is wearing long sleeve shirts and pants, you know, you might want to just check, make sure that there's nothing going on that you don't know about.
You know, Carrie, when I was a kid, what we used to hear from parents and from teachers, not that I was ever bullied, but what we used to hear was ignore it. You know, and if you give any response to somebody who's bullying you, you're only going to encourage them and make it worse by speaking up. Is that just bad advice?
It's not that it's bad advice. It's advice that works sometimes. Ignoring is okay in more isolated experiences. Like maybe if you're at the movies and someone starts taunting you, it's not someone you're going to see again. You ignore it, they'll stop. But the fact is that true bullying is repetitive by nature, and it's someone who you encounter repeatedly. So if you're on a school bus, for example, and there's a kid who's trying to pick on you, ignoring it is less likely to work. It's probably just going to irritate the bully because bullies feed off of a reaction. And so that kid is going to keep coming back at you day after day after day. Now, if you are strong enough to ignore it for enough time, it might be that the bully will give up after 3, 4, 5 weeks. But that's not the case with every child. Not every child can just bear with it. Some children get too devastated by what's happening.
Carrie, cyberbullying has added a whole new wrinkle to this discussion. You can be attacked and bullied and embarrassed in front of your whole class via Facebook, via email. How do we deal with that as parents and as people who are being bullied via the internet?
Well, there are a couple things. One is that there are just as many adult cyberbullies out there as children.
Yes.
And so a lot of children are learning about taking aggressive tendencies online from the adults. If you look at the political articles on any major website and you look in the comments section, it's rife with bullying and cyberbullying. So the first thing is, as an adult, we need to set a better role model for our children. But then there are certain technical things we can do. In terms of preventing cyberbullying, when you have kids in the house, you got to teach them that everything they say and do online is public. There is no such thing as private. Even if they send a private message to someone, that person could copy and paste it and put it on their Facebook wall. So if your child has something truly private to say, it should be said in person, not online. Second of all, kids need to know not to share their passwords, not to impersonate other people online, not to post pictures of themselves in compromising situations online. A lot of kids just make bad judgment. And whereas all of us, when we were kids, sometimes made bad judgment, we didn't do it in the context of a digital viral world where you do one stupid thing and it's on YouTube for the whole world to see.
Yeah, Carrie, I mean, I got to say, I was bullied pretty bad as a kid, and you think it goes away when you become an adult. And I think probably because of our jobs, I'm sure I can speak for my co-hosts as well. We've all been bullied on Twitter and in emails because of what we do. And I'm not talking about the people who criticize our politics. I'm talking about the people who comment on the way we look,
the personal
attacks, or make assumptions about the kinds of people we are without knowing us. Isn't this really more about our culture? I mean, certainly kids are worse off trying to handle this than adults, but isn't this just the way we've decided to talk to one another?
I actually wrote an entire chapter about that, and it's called the culture of aggression and cruelty that we have. And you're absolutely correct. We have started to evolve into a society with reality-based TV show type pot shots and Twitter and social media where things move very quickly, and long conversations where people are able to understand each other and truly communicate have been reduced to a single back and forth text messages, which it's a huge situation for misunderstandings, for anger, for aggression. And so when we talk about bullying prevention, it's not just that we have to have parents raise empathetic kids or have schools that teach social skills and teach, social emotional learning. There's a bigger picture out there. It's the advertising messages. It's the way that the media and the marketing work. It's the sexualization of children. All of these things play in to creating a culture of cruelty. And so we really all have a role to play, all of us, in combating bullying.
All right, Carrie Goldman, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Up next, another area where young people stepping up can make all the difference. This election. Young gun Matt Siegel is back in the saddle here in the cycle straight ahead.